Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we've got a mission that is, honestly, it's just super fascinating. We are looking into this really strange, yet somehow almost universal custom.
Right, the covering of the mirrors.
Exactly. We are exploring how, like, just a simple piece of cloth draped over a mirror in a house carries centuries of these profound cultural meanings. And we are using this incredibly detailed article today that breaks down both the traditions and the psychology behind it.
It really is a fantastic piece of source material.
But, before we even get to the mirrors, we should probably set the stage. Because it is wild how differently cultures across the globe handle the etiquette of death.
Oh, absolutely. It's night and day depending on where you look.
Like if you step into a mourning parlor in the Victorian era, the vibe is just heavy. The text mentions the air would be thick with this sweet, almost suffocating scent of lilies.
Yeah, because they use them to mask the scent of decay. Very practical, but it creates a very dark, somber atmosphere.
Right, but then take that and contrast it with, say, a New Orleans funeral procession.
Oh, complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Totally. You've got this vibrant, loud, lively explosion of jazz music going through the streets, brass instruments flashing in the sun. It's this lively celebration of a transition.
Which is such a different emotional output.
And then you go over to Ireland, and historically the tradition there is the wake. The deceased isn't, whisked away to some distant funeral home right away.
They stay right there in the home.
Yeah, in the home or a relative's house. It's so intimate. The living and the dead just sharing that familiar space for those final moments. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because with all those different approaches, walking through a house and throwing bed sheets over every single mirror seems, I don't know, a bit contradictory.
Does seem like an odd priority, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you have a death in the family, the logistics are already a nightmare, and yet in so many disparate cultures, pausing to cover the looking glass is an absolute necessity.
Well, this practice perfectly illustrates how humans use their physical environment to manage the overwhelming emotional weight of grief. It's a tangible action. When someone dies, the reality of the survivors is just shattered.
Right. Everything feels wrong.
Exactly. So altering the physical space, like covering the mirrors, it serves incredibly complex purposes, both supernatural and psychological.
Let's start with the supernatural stuff because, honestly, the instinctual human reaction to death is so often just fear, especially historically. The unknown is terrifying.
And mirrors themselves have always had a bit of a creepy reputation.
Oh, totally. I mean, think about it before mass production. Mirrors were rare, they were expensive, mostly made of polished metal or just really dimly backed glass.
They weren't the crisp, high-definition reflections we have today.
Right. Imagine looking into one by, flickering candlelight in the 17th century. It would look shadowy and, frankly, super mysterious.
That historical context is so vital. We have to remember mirrors were highly unusual anomalies in the physical world back then.
So if we look at traditional Chinese funerals, the article outlines some really specific, chilling folklore about this.
The omens, right.
Yeah. The belief is that if you were to spot a coffin or even catch a glimpse of the deceased person's face in a mirror, it's this terrifying omen.
And it wasn't just vague bad luck, it was highly specific.
Exactly. It's the belief that seeing that reflection predicts or maybe even causes another death in the family really soon. It's like the mirror is an active participant in the bad luck.
And beyond just an omen, the Chinese tradition also deals with a very literal fear regarding the spirit of the person who just died.
Right, the soul trapping.
Yes, there's this deep-seated belief that a newly departed spirit can physically become trapped inside an uncovered mirror.
Which is just a terrifying thought. And the craziest part is, this wasn't just isolated to Chinese folklore. The Victorians, the same ones with those heavy lily-scented parlors, they also had these intense, soul-trapping, supernatural beliefs about mirrors at wakes.
It's remarkably consistent. We see very similar ideas echoing through Slavic and Celtic cultures, too.
Really? Like the same trapped soul concept?
Essentially, yes. In those traditions, mirrors are literally viewed as gateways or portals directly to the afterlife.
Which, okay, if you think about it from the perspective of a newly departed spirit, it makes a weird kind of sense. I kind of see it as like child-proofing the house for a ghost.
That is a great way to put it.
Because you've got this soul in transit, right, trying to navigate its way out. And an uncovered mirror just looks like a continuation of the room. It's like a confusing detour sign on a metaphysical highway.
It looks like a path forward, but it's a trap.
Exactly. You cover it so the spirit doesn't bump its metaphysical head.
Yeah.
But how did entirely disconnected cultures from ancient China to Celtic Northern Europe, arrive at the exact same conclusion, that mirrors are these dangerous glitches in reality.
What's fascinating here is the underlying logic of that shared conclusion. It really comes down to the fundamental nature of a reflection itself.
Because it's a duplicate.
Yes, a mirror creates a duplicate reality. It's a world that looks exactly like ours, but it's untouchable, it's silent, and it's reversed.
Oh, the reversal part is so eerie.
Right. So leaving them uncovered supposedly confuses the deceased spirit, leaving it lost. It can't distinguish between the real world it needs to depart from and the duplicate world in the glass.
So it wanders into the reflection.
And becomes completely unable to move on. By covering the mirrors, the living are taking a protective measure, ushering the soul out the correct door.
But, ghost stories and trapped spirits, that's only half the picture here. The article points out that when we move away from folklore and look at, say, organized religion, covering mirrors stops being about protecting the dead.
It becomes entirely about protecting the living.
Exactly. It's a huge shift. We go from superstition straight into practicality. And the best example of this is the Jewish tradition of sitting Shiva.
It's such a profound practice.
For anyone listening who might not know, Shiva is this prescribed week-long period of mourning for a family. It happens right at the deceased's home. And there are these really specific rules you have to follow.
Very strict guidelines for behavior.
Like mourners sit on low chairs or on the floor. They don't wear new clothes. They don't shave or cut their hair. They stop all regular work. And of course, they cover all the mirrors in the house.
All of them, yes.
Now, I get covering mirrors for ghosts. But this specific set of rules during Shiva, I want to push back on it a bit. Does this strict list essentially just act as an enforced timeout from society's superficial expectations?
In a way.
Because I used to think covering a mirror was just about respect. Like, don't do your makeup while we're honoring the dead. But with the low chairs and not shaving, is removing the mirrors a deliberate way to force mourners to look inward at their grief instead of outward?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is exactly the genius of it. Removing the mirrors eliminates vanity from the equation entirely.
And when we say vanity here, we don't mean, like, being arrogant.
No, not at all. We mean the ego. The sheer amount of mental energy we spend every day maintaining our appearance and presenting a polished version of ourselves to the world.
It takes so much energy just to look normal.
Right. By removing the ability to see your own reflection, you guarantee that the week remains entirely focused on mourning and remembering the dead.
It strips all that societal pressure away.
Completely. When you are sitting on the floor in old clothes and you physically cannot check how you look, you are freed from the burden of the self.
Building directly on that concept of removing vanity, there's this incredible physical relief that it gives the mourner's psyche. Because, man, grieving is a highly physical ordeal.
It truly is. The body reacts very aggressively to acute grief.
The article highlights these physiological signs of crying. You get vasodilation, so your blood vessels expand. You get those puffy, inflamed eyes.
Your skin gets blotchy and picked.
Yeah, right. You look exhausted because you are literally enduring a trauma response.
Mm.
So by covering the mirrors, the family is spared from repeatedly catching sight of their own devastation.
Which is a profound psychological mercy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about how exhausting it is to perform being okay. This culture is essentially giving mourners a beautifully practical gift. The permission to look terrible and just be sad without any self-judgment.
It allows the house to maintain a calm, introspective mood without the visual shock.
I mean, think about it for a second. If you're listening right now, how often do you check your reflection during the day? Just to self-regulate or adjust your expression or judge how tired you look?
Most of us do it constantly, subconsciously.
Constantly. Now imagine the immense psychological relief of turning that impulse off completely during the most vulnerable, traumatic week of your life.
It's removing a neurological trigger, really. When you see your own distressed face, your brain processes that visual cue of trauma and releases more stress hormones.
Oh, wow. So you were literally re-traumatizing yourself every time you look in the bathroom mirror.
Exactly. Covering the mirrors breaks that feedback loop.
That is just brilliant. To summarize this whole journey we've been on today, we started with how a single piece of cloth bridges this massive gap. From ancient fears of spirits getting lost, all the way to the deeply empathetic psychological care of Shiva.
It spans the entire human experience of loss.
It really does. So
Yeah.
what does this all mean?
Well, I think it shows that human rituals, whether they are born out of supernatural superstition or this acute practicality, They are master classes in guiding us.
Guiding both the departed and the ones left behind, right?
Exactly. They give us a roadmap when our minds are completely overwhelmed. It's a physical action for an abstract pain.
But it leaves me wondering about today,
Hmm.
because we don't just have mirrors on our walls anymore.
That is such a vital point to consider.
Right.
If covering physical mirrors traditionally forced us to abandon our vanity and truly process our grief, how is our modern society altering that? We are hyper-reflective now.
We have phone screens, front-facing cameras, social media.
We are constantly looking at ourselves, so the provocative question we have to ask ourselves is, how is this fundamentally altering our ability to be present in our most vulnerable moments?
Oh, that is heavy.
If the historical key to processing acute trauma was turning off the reflection, what happens to us in an era where the camera is always on?
Wow. Think about that the next time you catch your reflection in your phone screen today.
It's wild to consider how much we've lost by losing that safe, unreflective space. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope it gave you a completely new perspective on this piece of cultural history. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep learning. We will catch you on the next one.